You are one of the world's longest running Phantoms in Phantom of the Opera. How did your journey into the role start?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to correct it because I was the longest running Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera, and I held that title. It was like 2,300 performances or something like that. A little under that. I think. I don't know. I stopped counting and forgot already. Um, but I held that title for over a decade. But I believe Howard McGillen, the great Howard McGillen, I think he surpassed me. And people say, well, how do you feel about being surpassed for the role of blah blah blah? I'm like, look, if he surpassed me, he deserves that accolade. This is hard. 8 shows a week.
Yes.
It's hard to do. So I was like, no, it's good for him. This I'm happy. So and I'm sorry, what was the other part of your question?
How did your journey into the role start? How did you come into the show?
How did I come into the show?
Sometimes in life, without pushing or prodding, golden opportunities appear. And I'm not sure if that's prayer or luck or divine intervention. I don't know. But all I do know is that something brings you to the right place at the right time. Who knows? Maybe Godfather was an experience like that for me. I'm not sure. But who would have thought that when I was auditioning for the Broadway show Miss Saigon, that it would actually lead me to a role that I would be doing for years to come? Anyway, when I was singing for the people for Saigon, after I finished singing, they were convinced that I was actually auditioning for the wrong show. And they promptly set up an audition for me to sing for the world-famous director, Mr. Harold Prince, for the role of the Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera. Right? Well, being completely underprepared and under-rehearsed, my New York instincts kicked in. First, I went off to church and I said, "Tu novenas." Secondly, I went off to Staples and I bought the biggest Sharpie I could in order to write the lyrics all over my hands. Now, I'm not kidding. I mean, like, literally, like, all over my hands, right? So between singing the song and doing the grand gestures that it actually took for me to read the lyrics, they gave me the part. A year and a half on the road and a lot of frequent flyer miles later, I landed in San Francisco where I haunted the famed Current Theater for more than 5 years. Now, in the Broadway shows and that I've been in and also the national tours and so forth, you do 8 shows in 6 days. Because that's when I got the title as the world's longest running Phantom.
I was auditioning for Miss Saigon on Broadway. Um, and of course, the same producers, Cameron McIntosh, and same musical director, David Caddick, did both Miss Saigon and Phantom of the Opera, right? So, excuse me. So it was my final performance. So it was my final callback, and it was on I forget what theater it was in. I think it was the St. James. I think it was this, what theater was it? I think it was the St. James Theater at the end that we had. Anyway, we were on stage, and it was what theater? It was the Broadway theater, I think it was, maybe where Les Mis was playing at the time. Anyway, so I sang for the entire audition panel for Miss Saigon on Broadway, and they were unanimously convinced that I was auditioning for the wrong show. And they did. They said, "Look, Frank, you can sing it well. You're really good. You can do this." I said, "But Frank, um, we're putting out a new production of Phantom of the Opera. Would you be interested in that?" And I said, "Yeah." So I was auditioning for one show, and I got the next one. So anyway, so I went and I auditioned for it, and this is an interesting story. I auditioned for it, and I get a phone call from the casting director, And he said, Frank, he said, we want you to do Phantom of the Opera. And I was 28 at the time, you know, and I said, I says it was the great Vinnie Lift. He was one of the greatest casting directors, the most supportive casting directors that Broadway in my generation has ever seen. Unfortunately, he passed a number of years ago, but he was a great man. And he said, Frank, we want you to do Phantom of the Opera. I said, Vinny, I said, I'm not sure if this is right for me. He said, Frank, why not? I said, well, Vinny, I just got finished, you know, filming Godfather and Jungle Fever, and I'm out on tour with doing the press junket for everything. I've got to fly out to Los Angeles. I've got to do a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just not sure if the role of Raoul is right for me, because I thought they wanted me because I was 28, 26, 28, whatever it was. And he said, Frank, we're offering you the role of the Phantom. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'd love to do it. and that's how it happened.
Did you read the original book to prepare for the role?
No, I did not. There's a few reasons. Number one, I have a very low reading level. I'm dyslexic, so I have what would be a primary school level of reading. So very, very, very difficult for me to sit down and read and frankly read a book, you know.
How did you see the role of the Phantom? How did you see the man?
I saw him as a real man. You know, I didn't see him as by any means a monster. I saw him as a real man who had real feelings, who had was childlike at times, other times childish at times. I found his vulnerabilities. I found his insecurities. I found his passion, his love, his lust, his ambition, his his unreconciled love for his family that gave him away at such a young age. And I build my character around many of those elements.
What's the most important scene for you?
That's a great question. No one has ever asked me that question. Thank you. Most important scene. I would say that all of them are important because it builds to an end, you know. I would say when Christine comes back, I think the most important scene is at the end, towards the end, when he's singing Masquerade to the monkey. Masquerade, da da da, hide your face so the world will never find you. And then all of a sudden he senses Christine. He looks back and she's there. And she hands him the ring. And he says, Christine, whatever, I don't know the key anymore. Christine, I love you. And then she runs away. I love you. I think that was the part where he was alone in with his memories of singing to the monkey, and then looking back and seeing, did she come back? Are you back? you didn't go away, and then representing the ring like, here's the ring, I am going to go away, and then him finally being able to say that he loved her.
It's always indeed the most emotional scene in the show because
Yeah,
coming back is almost cruel when he already let her go, and then for the brief hope for just a moment.
yeah, that brief hope, that just that moment, yeah, that can it be? Because I remember when she would come back and I would masquerade, and I would censor, I'd come back and I would even though, because I had the alopecia wig on and everything, and she'd come back and I would literally like I fix my hair and I fix my tuxedo like, you're back. I don't want you to see me like this. And then she presents the ring. Yeah. It's powerful. It's a powerful piece of theater that Andrew Lloyd Webber wrote.
Absolutely.
And I'm very, very honored and very proud to have played the role as I did.
Nobody does